We're here with Bernie and Sean from Xandeum, and I want to talk nodes because, man, so many crazy, wonderful opportunities in Web3 when it comes to running your own node and really supplying the tech that we need to get to the next level when it comes to Web3. Bernie, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, actually.
Let's go over this whole thing because pNodes are all the buzz. They're right around the corner. Please tell me, what are they?
Yeah, pNodes are the thing now, and I'm glad Sean came up with they sound like peanuts, right? So sometimes we use that as a visualization there. Yeah. Those pNodes are the provider nodes of the Xandeum storage layer. We need that Xandeum storage layer to make real decentralized apps, and we need to get it off the validator nodes, right? That's the reason storage doesn't scale, right? With Solana right now, it's all, and any other smart contract chain, all the accounts are stored on those validator nodes, and that means we always have a high redundancy of 3,000 because we have 3,000 validators, right? Every piece of data is stored on 3,000 validators. So we have these provider nodes. They provide the storage. They are the core of that storage layer. They will be the core of Web3. Those are smaller nodes, right? It is not like a geek's thing, right? They don't need a lot of memory. They don't need a lot of CPU. They only need storage. The more storage, the better. You provide it to the Xandeum network, and it needs a good internet connection and fast and reliable internet connection. That's all it takes, and they are super easy to manage. We have that graphical user interface called XAND Miner, and these are the core of the network. 94% of all fees that are being generated later on when we're on mainnet will go to these pNodes. They decide how much they pass on to their stakers, how much they pass on to the validators that send them these challenges to make sure that everything works smoothly. Yeah. So, and that's, because I'm a big fan of always start with why, right? Why do we even need those pNodes? Yeah. In order to get that redundancy down, to make the thing scalable, because a redundancy of 3,000 for everything is not a good thing, right? And the app should decide, right? Some apps say like, well, I'm fine if I have it on there's 3 pNodes. Others say on 7, others say on 43. And that's why we need these pNodes, and it's a big community in, if everything works and we're storing exabytes or even zettabytes of storage someday, we will have millions of pNodes. And that's all staged, of course, in the Deep South era, which is the first era of our development. There will be 300 pNodes, and super excited.
299. I'm running one.
You got it. Okay. So, and that's why we need those pNodes. They're going to be the core of almost each and every Web3 app that's out there, because what is Web3 without a storage layer? We believe, and that's what we're building it for, at least, that each and every Web3 app that's out there will utilize that storage layer just because it's there. Why would you not use it, right? And the pNodes are the core of that.
Now, I understand that we don't want 3,000 redundancies of one file. That makes sense for validators. Is there any other reasons why not just leverage the existing validators to deploy these pNodes?
Yeah, it's just that reason, right? That with the current architecture of smart contract chains, and that's not only true for Solana, it's true for all smart contract chains. The only place you can store data between transactions persistently is in these accounts model, and the accounts are on each and every validator. They have to be there. They have to be super fast, because we don't want to hold up the blockchain, right? It's like 2,000 payload transactions on Solana for each and every second. Yeah. So the validators need to keep them in RAM. They can't even afford to have them on their disk, right? The validator is just a normal computer, so it does have a disk. But if they're not in RAM, they will just be too slow to keep up with the blockchain.
That's why the requirements are so high for those validators, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The requirements are quite high, and And that's why RAM in a normal computer, random access memory or just memory, it can't scale with regards to capacity that much because it's like super, super fast. We have these DRAMs and DDR4, DDR5, DDR6. So that is technology that just costs some money and is only scalable to a certain amount. I mean, today you can have a terabyte of RAM in a very expensive server environment or a few terabytes, but you can't have like 100 terabytes or something, right? In a normal computer.
And it's temporary, right? Once you flip that switch off, it's gone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, also that. And, there's a lot of successful Web 2 apps that literally need petabytes of storage, right? Which is 1,000 terabytes is a petabyte, right? So we need to store all that, and we can't have it with that redundancy. We can't even have it with that speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disks are always slightly slower. They can be super fast also, right? And it's going to be, of course, all SSD based, and likely the requirement is going to be the latest NVMe in mainnet once we go mainnet, because there's also a competition between pNodes,
Sure.
right? I mean, they need to have their performance score and their reliability score and all that type of thing. So it's still going to be fast, but as in real life, the normal disk that you have on your MacBook is not as fast as the RAM, right? It's just a slightly little bit slower, and that's how it's going to be with the Xandeum storage layer as well. And we need these pNodes, these specialized nodes, because not having them, that was the reason storage doesn't scale today. Right?
Yeah. Now, Sean, when it comes to the community aspect of things, because if you're going to run nodes, if you're going to get, anyone to run these things, it's not a one-person deal. Like, this is a lot of people coming together and saying, yeah, we believe in this and we're going to get behind it. What's been the response for the community at Xandeum? Are these people excited to run nodes? Do you foresee, those 300 nodes going out rather quickly because of the number of people that are already excited about Xandeum?
Yeah. I think we don't have enough pNodes in this era to keep up with the demand, to be honest with you. The community is super excited, and the community wants to get their hands on these, and they want to run them, honestly. And in this era, we're only deploying a very small amount, 300, actually 299, as Action was saying. But those are going to go by quick. And we are limiting them to a few nodes per wallet. However, we really want to diversify who has them. We want you guys to have them. We don't want one or two or three or a couple people having a bunch. We want it spread out amongst the community. That's a big deal to us. And, like I said before in the other videos, just to reiterate, without the community, we are nothing. We need you just as much as, you need us.
Now, talk to me about costs. Why does it have such a big impact on costs when you're having individuals like myself run these nodes as opposed to having larger infrastructures like your AWSs and your Google Clouds of the world?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, bringing the redundancy down from 3,000 to, let's say, 3, that's already 1,000x in cost.
Yeah.
Right? Number one. Then having lower hardware requirements, that's probably another 10x. Then we're at 10,000x in cost. So that's the thing, right? And of course, the higher redundancy an app wants, the more expensive it gets, right? And
so the node's just a matter of putting the power back in the hands of the people, allowing them to select what it is that they actually want. If they want the redundancy 40 times over, let them have it. Yeah. It's just they're going to pay an increased price in comparison to somebody that doesn't want as much redundancy for these nodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the pricing model, I love the fact that you're actually enabling the community to be able to earn. Like you mentioned, 94%. That's a huge amount of the fees actually going back to these nodes. Where do we go from here? Is this sustainable? Are we going to be able to keep this going? Why go to the community first? Why not build it yourself?
Yeah. So a great question. So it's all going to be, community driven. It's all super decentralized, and we have all these eras that I talked about with those 6 eras, and somewhere at era 3 or 4, which will be the coal era, We are building those fee markets so that supply and demand always is balancing, right? So we had a lot of discussions like, why don't we just dictate as Xandeum or Xandeum Foundation or the DAO just dictates how much the storage is? That won't work because demand will spike and it'll come in waves, right? And then there's a new app that's going to be adopted like crazy, and then storage prices will go up for a while until there's more pNodes that can actually deliver all that storage, and it has to be a market-driven fee model. Otherwise, you know, supply and demand is going to go wild, right? And we need to always balance it, right? And that raises another question, like if someone's using the Xandeum storage layer from mission-critical apps or stuff, they need to have some predictability on how much it costs, right? So for that, I envision there will be middlemen that just sell you kind of a futures contract or something, right? And it's like, okay, you can store 1 petabyte of data for the next 6 months or for the next 3 years on Xandeum for this and that price.
Got it.
So they add their kind of insurance premium there so that they give you predictability, right?
Very cool.
Yeah. So you can do the same thing with like 10-year treasury notes, which are, they are different from, daily varying interest, right? So
yeah, I mean, that open market opens up a lot of opportunity, not only for people to earn, but also for the word of Xandeum to get spread out there. Because let me tell you, when I run a node, I tell everybody about it, right?
Yeah,
so this community aspect of it is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What are you guys envisioning coming next? I know that we need these nodes. Are we talking about getting them set up in a specific country? Do you want to go all over the world? And why do we need it to go everywhere?
Yeah. Of course, if we want that Cambrian explosion to happen and have all these different apps that use the storage layer, they need to be everywhere. We will have regions. That's part of the coal era as well, where we introduce regions and have different fee models for different regions. It's legal reasons, of course, right? There's a reason why Amazon did that on AWS, right? So we're gonna have all these regions. We're gonna have encryption layers, and some apps even need to be HIPAA compliant or stuff like that. So those are all going to be optional layers on top of that. That we can use to do that. But right now, I mean, the launch of the pNodes in general, the very first pNodes will become available really, really soon on March 25th.
Awesome.
So, and that's the first 300. And we limit it to that 300 in the first era just because there's also a cost associated with it, right? It's like it's hardware that needs to be paid, and it's running in our DevNet. So there won't be fees coming in that cover it, as we've later have in mainnet. In mainnet, it's all permissionless, but in DevNet, you will have to pay a small protective fee. It's going to be 35,000 XAND, which is, as of today, less than $100. And it's really like a protective fee. But we want to keep, and then we'll pay a monthly fee for running these in our DevNet, because there's no real fees coming out because we're not on mainnet yet. So that is all a cost factor, right? We don't want to have like 10,000 right now. We need to do it step by step. But then, very soon, once we're at the Frankfurt release, we go on mainnet. We have real apps. We have real SOL coming in fees for the storage layer that are being distributed. So, yeah.
Love it. One last question here, Sean. Why have a GUI? Why set it up in a way that, your grandma can do it?
Well, I mean, if we want widespread adoption, it needs to be easy. Whether you're a techie or not, we want to do things easier in life. There's no need to overcomplicate. There's no need to go on command line and type out some code. While that is, relatively easy for someone advanced in tech, we want it to be easier, You use anything, iPhone, computer nowadays, it's intuitive. you don't even need an instruction booklet to use it. That's how we want our software to work.
Yeah, Sean, you even came up with that slider that we have in Xan Miner where you can just, move the slider and say, okay, I contribute 1 terabyte or maybe 2 terabytes of the storage that I have locally to the Xandeum network, right? It just has to be user-friendly.
Easy and fast.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the why behind it all. Would love to talk more a little bit when it comes to what this thing actually looks like.